Our regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. It's February 4th, 2019. The first item of business is pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The next item is approval of minutes. You should have two sets of minutes in your packet. Both from the 22nd, one was our special budget meeting, the other our last regular meeting. Oh, we have more guests. I'm guessing they cleaned the floor, that's why the chairs are
Rapidly filling up.
Rapidly.
Alright. So I would entertain a motion on our special meeting from January 22nd.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the special meeting January 22nd, 2019 as written.
Second? I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And now we're at January 22nd, regular meeting.
And I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the January 22nd meeting as written. I do have something that I want to speak to, but it's written accurately in the minutes, so I'll speak to it during the present to speak.
Okay. So I will second John's motion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Correspondence, you should each have a list of correspondence at your seat. Any questions on them? Status report. I have many things on my status report. Oh, did I skip that? I apologize. I did. I apologize. I skipped right over it. Present to speak. Anyone here who would like to speak? Identify yourself for the record. Going once, going twice. John?
Okay, I will.
John will.
I just wanted to bring up in the Board of Selectmen minutes for the last meeting, talking about concrete, that First Selectman Waschinsky warned that the library is looking to expand by finishing a portion of the lower level and recommends they do not proceed until the test has been done. And I have heard stories that they are already proceeding, and I'm not sure, but I think maybe you could talk to them and find out where they're going, and because I haven't seen anything in the minutes about them doing that either.
Okay.
So
I'll reach out to Chrissy tomorrow and see if she can give you some guidance, because she's the one who, when we went and did, I spoke to you about the MCOR quotes I got, and when we went to the library to look at all of the mechanics there, she had spoke to me about, kind of give me a brief idea what they were trying to do with the downstairs area, but I didn't realize it was in moving that quickly. Okay, so now status report. Okay, so a couple things that have been lingering on the status report is the Willington Hill parking lot replacement. That was LoSiP money from 17-18. We left it that they needed to get PZC approval, and then it had to come back to us. Tom Snyder spoke about that again at CIP last week, and that he really hasn't gotten clear clarification. I asked him to speak with Mike. It's LoSiP money that doesn't really expire, but if this isn't the project it's going to go to, we may be able to use it for other projects. So we'll want to see that he's moving on that and has a firm answer whether they're moving forward or not, so that we could use the funds in a more adequate way at that point. So I did check with Dawn today. She had given us the impression that they expired, but because she thought it came out of 930, not LoSiP funds. So that was incorrect the other night. The TOB masonry door replacement. Okay, so the project upstairs, you can see, is complete. Jim met with the builders, had their final inspection. He had deemed it safe for us to use, so we opened it based on emails I had gotten from Jim. There's now an issue with the stairs. There's some minor issues with the handrails that can be modified. They do not pose a safety risk, and those they're working on. The biggest concern is that in the run of steps, one step has a rise of 6 inches, while all the others are 7 inches. So it's a concern. The builder did not request inspections along the way. So when Jim went to do his final inspection with them last week, this is what came about. So Jim is, he's told us of the issue. He spoke with Rockwell. The plan is for them to come back out in the spring. Now, we don't have a date yet. We're reaching out to them to try to get a plan and a date to see what has to be done. The ramp is perfectly fine and safe. Jim has stated to me, in his opinion, does not pose a safety risk, and the ramp may be utilized, although we do not. The same cannot be said for the steps. So as of tomorrow morning, the steps, just the steps will be cordoned off so they cannot be used, and traffic can flow up the ramp. So they're going to have to replace the steps. What I don't know, and we will be holding back payment on this project, so they have not been paid in full. Just, you can rest assured, it has not been paid in full. And what I don't know from them yet is they did not come in. I was in interviews when they were here. So I did not speak to the builder. Robin was reaching out to them so that we can get a plan of action as to what it is they can do. I'm not sure that they can replace the steps without it affecting the landing up top. I don't know how. I mean, they're gonna have to demo them.
Who was it that was this?
Rockwell.
Yeah, but weren't they approved by somebody at Prague?
Yes.
Is it the top step, the bottom step, or middle
The
step?
The
that's
second
different?
step from the second step from the top.
Oh, smooth.
Yes. So, and if I said to you that one of the steps is off and you went and looked at them, it's evident. So we have Public Works coming in tomorrow. I spoke with Jim regarding this issue today. Public Works will be here in the morning, cordon off. So the front entrance can still be utilized, the landing and the ramp, Jim has said, do not pose a safety risk and can be utilized, but the steps themselves not until the spring. To say that I'm disappointed would be a drastic understatement. I'll keep my comments clean as if we're in a public meeting. So when I have more information regarding the process moving forward, I will share it with you. But the front door can still be utilized in the public, which is why when you asked me about the sign out front, I did not say it would go away, although it does belong to Human Services, so at some point she's gonna need her sign, but we'll deal with that as we move forward. The other items on the status report, Public Works Director, we had a first round of interviews last week. We'll continue with the second round this week. We're moving forward with that. I told you all that Eileen had resigned from Public Works so that she could go be fully retired. She is done as of Wednesday. Jason Regenzi, who was the assistant transfer station operator, will be taking that position starting next Monday, the 11th. So, yes, so it didn't go out to anyone, so you can see here in your correspondence, we've gotten a request from someone thinking that that would be an opening once Eileen's was announced, but any union position goes to the union first, and they have 5 days, so someone did come forward and was qualified, so. This came, we didn't even advertise it outside of the union, but somebody, had heard, so that's what you see in your correspondence. So Jason will be doing that. So now, instead of Public Works assistant, we now will be looking for a public, assistant transfer station operator. So we put that, position out, and it ends on Monday. So we may need to fill in help in between it being filled and Jason's last week being this week. But we've already begun gotten applications for that. So that leaves us to the position of the assistant revenue collector. You would ask me to look into combining the tasks since we knew we had a position that didn't have enough work to occupy its current 22 hours. The union basically wrote back to me and said we're not interested in changing any job descriptions. They were okay with the new floater position, but not in changing any job descriptions. So,
but that's a change of the job description, the floater position.
it was,
So
they were
okay with that?
They were okay with a brand new, with that, yes.
They're okay with
They were
doing
okay.
away with
So they were okay
They
with
were okay
doing
with
one?
assistant.
They were okay with
revenue-
not filling, we were never,
Oh, we're gonna create a new.
we were creating a new one, we were never
Figured.
getting rid of a position, it was gonna stay in the union.
Right.
And then we were gonna fill, instead of filling this, we're gonna fill it another way. So we could, yes, we still have a need for other work. Public Works, not Public Works, I apologize. Parks and Rec still has a need for a lot of work. We've talked about creative ways of utilizing people with the work that we do have. So one of those options that was discussed was instead of 22 hours and 4 days a week, being 2 days a week as the assistant revenue collector. And then potentially, again, if the Parks and Rec assistant was filled in the next budget cycle, because Maureen is putting in that request, then doing the other 10 hours there. So you could still have one person splitting between two jobs. You work here, and then you work here, which is another way of that. The assistant Parks and Rec position is already a position within the union. It is not a position that needs to be created. And keep in mind, we never completed creating the floater position. We had agreed on job descriptions, but the final MOU came to me about a day after this board had said, no, we want the backup of someone to be an assistant tax collector. So in order to fill it going forward, we could do one of two things. We could fill it at the 22 hours a week it is now, and then cut back those hours in the next budget cycle if there was that other, with the assumption that another position was created, and then you could share the space, not share the space, share the hours. So they would be doing 10 hours in one job, 12 hours in another, still be eligible for benefits. It could potentially be the same person. So if I fill it now at 22 hours part-time, worst case scenario is it stays just the way that it is. And could cut back going forward. Please advise. You know, we tried to find creative solutions so that we could still employ someone in the same manner and still meet the needs of the town.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we were fought between what we need and what they were willing to do. And so this was the union rep, not necessarily any one person representing you here in the building. I would say that. The uncertainty is in what happens in the next budget cycle, right? So we could say and only hire someone for a few hours now, that doesn't fulfill the need. The change could be cut back in hours here and a changeover in hours somewhere else as needed. It wouldn't involve letting anybody go, it would just be a difference in who you report to 2 days a week. The person would still work the same number of hours and obtain the same benefit.
You know, I had seen a definite need for the person, but not, and I'm sure everybody around here would like to have more help, but that wasn't where I had expected this person to go, to Parks and Rec.
I have neither, there's a definite need there. That doesn't, that addition shifts where our money comes from, but it doesn't shift the bottom line. Responsibility, fiscal responsibility, we'd still be looking at a 22-hour-a-week total position. And benefits, none of that would change. It would be a decrease in the 1920 budget to the tax collector's office. And an increase the other way, so it's shifting money around, but.
I can see we're gonna shift money around, I can see we're gonna spend the same amount we have in the past. And that's not my problem. My problem is that
You don't agree with where the need is.
I don't agree with where the need is, and we're not being allowed, I guess you can say, by the union to to actually do what's the town needs.
Correct. And, several of the things we took off, are added on to that position were things that would have come off of Maureen's plate. And that's not happening now, and there's still an incredible need there. I'd hate to see cutting this. I'm not comfortable just going out and replacing someone for 22 hours a week when we've heard repeatedly from the revenue collector, I do not have work for somebody.
Right.
It's very difficult to think that the union isn't going to tie our hands on what kind of work we can give them to do. That's not meeting the needs of the town at all. And if we cut the hours back to what we think might be adequate, are we going to hurt ourselves as far as quality of candidates for the position? It's less than ideal.
It's already a part-time position.
It is already a part-time position, but if we didn't do the
And that's
22 hours,
self-limiting,
under 20 hours would not be eligible for benefits.
Yeah. So part of the conversation was also that we need to have redundancy in the revenue collection
Correct.
area. So that was one of the things that we did on our decision, so we can't completely eliminate
Correct.
the redundancy.
No, to me it would be dialing back the number of hours.
Right, so, so our challenge is we can't rework the existing job description to be more inclusive of other tasks. So we can't
That's
say that the
correct.
assistant revenue collector now has a couple of
Correct.
additional job responsibilities, and is there no way that we can put things in that are other duties as assigned that are
That's
still connected?
That's what we
appropriately?
attempted to do, and I didn't actually get anywhere with actual conversation. It was, here's what we were looking at in here, here's what we have. Now,
Yeah.
can we work together, putting them together? Here's a very rough draft of this, and I received an email that said we are not interested in changing job descriptions, or we're not willing to. So they didn't want to eliminate a position, which I did not suggest. There were several things in the communication that were never put on the table, but alluded to what they weren't going to do, and I thought that's great, I wasn't ever going to do that. I'm trying to find creative ways to have an employee that we can offer something meaningful to and meet the needs of the town. And continuously coming up against a wall in that, and the only thing that was met with any sort of willingness to work with was creating the new
Right.
position. And that was all fine and dandy. What we didn't have in that new job description was specifically that they would need to be, that they would have the potential to, it's not required to get tax collector certification. And still in the job description of the assistant, it's not a must. You're encouraged to, and that we would cover the costs for that.
Do you have
So-
the existing job description for that by any chance?
I do not have it with me in your packet, but I can get you one.
Let me see it again, just to refresh my memory on the original job description and see if there's
Of the assistant tax
a
collector.
basis.
Yeah, it's basically all tax work. There's very little leeway for even other so some of the job descriptions need some work, to say the least.
But if we can't do work on them,
That's correct.
then that's a moot point.
Now, I will say our current union here has new representation, and I don't know at this point whether they'd be willing to entertain this, but this was the last I heard was so it's frustrating, but at the same time, I don't think it's responsible to continue. If we're gonna have backup, then it needs to happen. This assistant left on December 3rd.
Yeah.
So Lisa did make it through without any difficulty, but she doesn't have a day off and there's no coverage in that office. And we are gonna run into that in the next week and a half. So,
So we could just go ahead and replace or fill the position under the old job description and then attempt to
change it
attempt to negotiate with the union, except that gives them absolutely no reason to negotiate.
That is correct, but what we can do is if we have a change in the number of hours that are needed, I think that gives us, some room. And again, I still see a need in a department here, and that need is not going away, and a lack of need in another. So this seemed a creative solution, and budget-wise, it's a wash. So it's a decrease to us, and so the budget that you saw earlier tonight would go down because the fiscal responsibility would be less, and that part would be 12 hours a week instead of 22, plus all those extra hours, but then an increase to what Parks and Rec asked for. So I still would like to entertain that possible position. If this board sees. So you'd like me to go ahead and fill it as is right now?
We're gonna have to fill it at some point.
And then move forward, trying to make some change at that
At
point.
least there's no one to appeal to on the union thing, no other option to find. You could go to law, but that would be very expensive.
A little bit. So,
I think our hands are tied a little bit on that.
all right, so I'll put it out. And again, what I'd like to do is back up that need for help in a different department and adjust those hours accordingly. And that's still that's what I see the most significant option to meet the needs of the town. So again, that's all based on whether or not Board of Finance buys into the request. All right, so that's the end of my status report, which is usually very quick. I do not have a report from Public Works, although they sadly have not had much snow to handle, which is not always a bad thing. So,
Good for us, bad for them.
look, sadly for them, I don't find it very sad, but those who enjoy that work and do that work, they kind of like it. All right, so the next item on our agenda is discussion about the tax deferment for federal employees affected by the shutdown. So we received an email just prior to our last meeting, and so I mentioned it in Good and Welfare. Since that time, Rich Roberts, who is with Halloran and Sage, our land use attorneys, he drafted a version that many of his clients are using in other towns, so he gave it to us. It's something we wanted to explore, and that's what you see in front of you. What I did do was go back to him and ask him specifically if now that the shutdown has ended,
For now.
can we still pass this? Because this all happened the night we had a meeting, and then we haven't met again since now. So because taxes were due on January 1st, it could still be, people could still come forward. I still have not gotten any information from our tax collector that anyone has asked. This is only in effect for this particular shutdown. The dates are concerning this shutdown. So,
The one that ended.
the one that ended.
And does it
So
not
what
include
I-
the one that could potentially start again?
No, so what I asked Rich He gave me a copy of a revised version that cleans up some of the first version, which you didn't see, adds a reference to the special acts rather than the bill, in case your town is considering the issue but hasn't passed it yet. Some towns had questions about this, 2 of them tend to be most frequent. Can it be adopted retroactively and still cover tax issues? I believe, I never like the word believe, the answer is yes, since those bills were due during the shutdown and the taxpayer would arguably have 60 days from the end of the shutdown within which to pay them without interest. It's not exactly clear in the Public Act, however, but he believes it was the intent. Second, would it be applicable to another shutdown which may occur within the next 3 weeks? Specifically, February 15th is the date that's looming. I believe the answer is no, given the Act is very specific about the definitions of affected employee and shutdown. That said, if the federal government shuts down again, the General Assembly could amend the special act to cover that period and any ensuing shutdowns as well. Now, that's taking into account that they may. So do we feel this is something that we want to enact? It does talk about eligibility for deferment and additional liabilities. You know, that they have to prove their eligibility. It does say, shall provide to the tax collector sufficient evidence of his or her status, which may include without limitation a pay stub or bank statement, a federal employee ID card, the federal tax identification card of the employee's employer, and a sworn affidavit from such employee indicating that such employee is a federal employee residing in the state of Connecticut. Is required to work as a federal employee without pay or furlough as a federal employee without pay. So you can see that on here they do reference the very specific dates of that shutdown. So this would only affect the shutdown if we so choose. I don't know that we won't have someone who just hasn't paid their taxes and is waiting to see what we do, but we haven't had anyone, to my knowledge, even inquire. So we can take action or we cannot take action.
I mean, in principle, sure. I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's something that's a hot need for us.
It
Doesn't seem like nobody comes
Nobody.
forward.
Right,
And
again,
it's
I don't
not
know
like
that
we're
they're
in
not
a
out there, but
federal-
they haven't.
If
So-
federal employee hotbed here.
And it's not to say that we couldn't in the future, if another shutdown happens, we become aware of other issues and the General Assembly amends the act. Then we could.
Actually, I get annoyed easily.
Yes.
What I find annoying about this is I have had it beaten into me over the years that if someone cannot pay their taxes on time for whatever reason, their mother died and they had to go to the funeral, or they lost their job and got fired and they're searching for another job, whatever reason, there will be no mercy. You have to pay your taxes, that's why you exist, and you must pay your taxes, and you can be given nothing. But now we have, except unless you're furloughed, which, let's face it, if you're furloughed, you're gonna get your money back after the shutdown's over anyway. But by God, we've gotta provide these people
And it's not to say that their tax application was not still due to us, it was. It wouldn't just, this would mean that, that
They don't
they wouldn't pay the penalties,
yeah.
which right now we do not, until this, we do not have the legal means.
and we never have legal
Never.
means.
Never. So, I understand what you're saying, and I think I might be annoyed, but we've got a group of people who, I might argue being used as leverage in another game, but that's for another topic.
Right,
So,
this is really a bigger political
this is such a
statement.
bigger political thing, and these people have absolutely nothing to do with those things, and trying to take the burden off of them. And my guess is, potentially if they're living in our community, they might have a greater need than others, but
I'm not seeing any need,
I haven't seen any.
no one has yet come to you.
No,
and
I mean, I
I'm sure
can't even
everybody
say
knows
that we
about
have
it.
one or two I don't know, again, I don't know that they're not waiting to see if we take action and then they can come forward. But, you know, there still is some tax left unpaid, so there's still people out there who haven't paid, but I don't have anything to say to you. We have very specific people who would fall under this if we want to choose to do this. So,
I would suggest that we table it and,
okay.
and then we'll worry about if there's another shutdown and it becomes, and it gets extended by the legislature, then we'll worry about it then.
Absent of a motion.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, I mean,
All right, so
again, I
then,
think if we were in Bethesda, Maryland.
right,
it would
or,
be a
you know,
completely
if
different
we'd even had
conversation.
anyone come to us, and, you know, I might see a need for it, but I haven't yet. And I'd hate to think that someone was waiting to hear what we do before they came forward and had the conversation as taxes were due by February 1st. So I would hoped by the time we met tonight, I would have known if we had had someone come
I'm sure
forward.
if they would have known, I'm sure they've all
Right.
been notified
Yeah,
by the
so,
unions, and I'm sure they
right,
would
I mean,
have called us.
I'm sure they're the one who, you know, they're looking to see where they can get some help from this terrible instance. So with that, I move on to old business, but I got way ahead of myself in my status report that we discussed
That's
that
fine.
item.
Should we just do it for old time's sake?
So we
go back
could, for
and-
old time's sake. So, good and welfare, I have a couple of items, one concerning taxes. So Lisa shared with me just before we met, as of today, the total tax to collect for this budget was $13,136,188, 25,000 in prior tax and 30,000 in interest and liens. She has gone above and beyond in prior tax and interest and liens. We have 96,218 left to collect for this 2017 grand list. So we have collected $13,031,210 of the $13,136,188. And this is not a complete number, as most of the mail we got today was postmarked January 31st. So Lisa's thinking between tomorrow and Wednesday, she can accept anything that was postmarked up to February 1st. And so we should still see a little bit more in that. So there's not much left for her to collect, certainly above and beyond the prior tax. And she's gone over budget. So kudos to Lisa on that. The other item I'll share with you is that on the 28th, which was last Monday, Walter, our assessor, signed off on the grand list, which included our revow. So you each got a copy of his letter and the information there. The 2018 grand list is an increase of 0.61% over the 2017 grand list. So it's an increase of $2,697,139. And he gives you a breakdown. You can see what went up. Real estate assessments went up 0.18%, personal property up 9.275%, and motor vehicle 0.43%. He gave us a breakdown of the homes affected. There were 13 new properties and one property that reported more severe crumbling and crumbling foundations. So that resulted in a decrease of $930,240 over the prior year. And again, one of those was off the 2016 grand list, but now they have more severe damage than they have been. So certain things are progressing. And you could see in the personal property, the 5 largest increases, and then the 5 biggest decreases over the 2017 grand list. Alright, so it was nice to have all that signed off on. In real estate, although the overall real estate assessment was relatively flat, the average residential home decreased by 0.88%. There are a few large commercial properties that saw significant increases in the PA 490 values set by the state were increased too, which resulted in a small increase. Their reval is off what our reval dates are, so the last time their reval fell into this reval year, we had to go back to their most current date. And so a lot of people saw increases in those P490 values. So those things helped offset the overall decreased value of homes. A few big ones and some PA. Yes, you have a question?
I do have a question,
Okay.
as you can tell that you.
I could tell.
Okay, so I guess this is just in terms of the process, but number one is a condo, part of a condo complex, right?
So number one, yes, is
So
the majority
they're
of
listed
others.
individually, not
they-
as like.
That is correct, because they are owned individually. So that is the homeowner who has asked for a decrease. And
Somebody
so
else.
I also, Rich, I apologize, Walter has provided me with a total list of, and you can see that there's multiple
Okay.
multiple units in that condo complex. This is someone who just came forward this year.
Gotcha, okay.
So, and they had till December 31st to submit all their paperwork, so we see some of those numbers. We thought it was gonna be somewhere around 10, so 13 was not that bad. All right, any other questions? Anything else for good and welfare? I wish Eileen well. Again, I said her last day is Wednesday, and so we wish her well in her renewed retirement. So she can go off to see her son when she'd like and spend time with her family as she wishes. And thank her for, again, her years of service to the town. As an employee, she's given many years of service to the town in other aspects. And that we may not see that change, we just won't see her working regularly. So, without anything else, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you.